Welcome back to Walkthrough Wednesdays. This is episode 4. In this series, we take you through a previous real estate wholesale deal that we either did or did not do and present to you all the details of it so that you guys can learn as much as you can from a real life deal that was analyzed and done by us. As always, we ask the same 5 questions, which we will go over now, so let's jump in. Question 1, where is this property located? Well, this property is located in Brigham City, Utah, and it is a single family home. Question 2, how did we find this property and what was the marketing channel that we used? For this property in particular, I had pulled a vacant home list for Brigham City through our software Batch Leads. After we pulled that list and got all of the data ready, we sent it off to our cold caller and she started calling. And she got a hold of this homeowner, and she just happened to be going through a situation where she needed to sell. And when we knew she wanted to sell, we set up an appointment for the very next day. Question 3, what was the condition of the home and what was the backstory to the owner and why did she want to sell? We had found out through talking with this lady and getting to know her and building up as much rapport as we can that she actually didn't live too far away. She just lived up through the canyon in a place called Logan. And she would commute down to often visit her parents and, well, to see this property that she had bought. We also found out, this was really interesting, that she was somewhat of a real estate investor herself. She had flipped a couple houses. It was nothing on the scale that we do or that many others do. It was more just she generally knew that real estate was a good investment and she wanted to try and get in and find some discounted properties herself. So she did this by going to the local auction. And this is exactly where she bought this house. But it had actually been, this deal in particular was a few years ago, and she had bought it, I think 2 or 3 years before that. And she unfortunately was not able to make as much progress as she wanted with it. And so she had done all the demo. So the property was quite literally just down to the studs. There was nothing in there, which actually can be really good for a flipper because then you kind of have a blank canvas and you can see everything behind the walls. There's nothing hidden. There's no surprises or anything that are going to happen. So let's dive in and give you guys a good look at this property and the condition it was in when we saw it. Now, the really cool thing about us doing this deal a few years ago and it being successful is we actually have the after photos. So we're going to show you what it looked like when we first went through it and then what a great job the flipper did who bought it from us. So let's dive in.
So here we are at the front room of the house. Again, as you can see, it's pretty demolished inside, if you will. There's 80 to 90% maybe of drywall left upstairs. Downstairs is completely blank. But sometimes, again, this is best case scenario because your flippers will be able to see behind the walls. They can know truly exactly what they're getting into. And sometimes it's nice to just have a blank slate. Moving down here through the hallway into the closet and bathroom. There's a room off back there to the left. Always good to get a good view of the sewer stack. So there's a photo of that close to the bathroom. And then here we are downstairs, completely bare. Kind of crazy. The afters I will show you now. And you can see what a great job this flipper did and why it can be so satisfying to see transformations like this. So this is up in the kitchen. If you remember, the front door is just off over here to the left. Didn't have the exact same angle, but here we are. You can see like how well this gentleman did with this project. It turned out great. Here's that upstairs bathroom. Here's one of the bedrooms as well. Here is the downstairs, if you remember. There's the stairway and the back doors off to the left, and you can see exactly how he finished it and just how different it looks. And then here's another view of that front room. Looks very, very good.
Now, this is a very satisfying part of wholesaling real estate where you can have this property that is in awful condition. It's so beat up. A really cool part is being able to see a property go through the renovation phase. So we sold this to an investor that we knew and were somewhat close with. And so he would send us updates and photos throughout the whole process. Like, just got these up, got the drywall up, whatever it is. And that was just very, very cool to be able to see this property go from this blank slate to what his vision was, and to be able to help and beautify the area and provide an awesome family with a really, really nice place to live. Moving on to question 4. How did we underwrite and analyze this deal? Now, when it got time to talk numbers specifically, an important part of this is we had previously over the phone made sure that she was truly in a position where she needed to sell. This is something that's very important that you should do with every single homeowner that you talk to, because a lot of times they might just generally be curious on what they think or what you might think their home is worth or what someone might be willing to pay. So doing 95% of the negotiating over the phone. So we went into this appointment knowing that she was ready to sign a contract if we could agree on a number and had a rough range of where she needed to be. After we had walked through, we went outside just right in the front lawn and started kind of going back and forth as to what we were thinking numbers were and what was fair. And she had kind of came into this knowing that she wanted $125,000, and that honestly she wasn't too far off. Like she seemed to get it right. I mentioned she was a previous investor or had done some flips, and so she knew that this property needed a lot of work and that someone was going to want to make a lot of money as well. Now, after she said this, we kind of took a minute, we stepped aside, and one thing, again, with wholesaling is there have been so many situations where we have just left money on the table. The worst someone can say is no to your counter offer or to your initial offer. So it was nice because we had gotten the first offer from her, or the first number from her at 125. And so we, again, went aside, we spoke about it and said, hey, you know what, let's come in at 120 and see what she'll say. So we went back and we said, hey, listen, we could close in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, but we'd need to be at 120,000. And she kind of thought about it for a minute and said, okay, let's do it. Deal. And so we shook hands and got a contract in place and got everything ready to send over the title. Another aspect of this is she, again, as I mentioned, had bought this from auction, and we're pretty sure she bought it for somewhere between 80 and 90 grand. And so after holding on to it for a couple of years, considering where our numbers were at, she probably made 20 to 30K on this deal. And all she had to do was buy a property and hold on to it for a while. So not a bad situation for her. And question 5, what was the outcome? We prepared this deal to be sent out via email, as we do with every one of our deals. So we got the email blast together, we sent it out to all of our buyers, and we had a bunch reach out that were really, really interested. And part of the process, as always, is to hold a one-time walkthrough somewhere around 45 minutes. So we had everyone come out and look at the property. Typically, people will bring contractors or other partners or even some of their investors as well that they're going to use those funds to purchase the house or for the rehab. We had a great turnout. So after we had taken offers from everyone, from all who were interested in purchasing this property, there was one gentleman in particular who came in just a little bit higher or right towards the top. And it happened to be someone that we know. We had actually sold one deal to him previously. We had originally sent this deal out asking $150,000, and we were hoping and anticipating a $30,000 profit. But after we had gotten offers, no one was quite at that asking. But our buddy, this investor, he came in at 145, and we had countered back at asking at 150, and he said, hey, you know what, let's just meet in the middle at 148 and let's call it a deal. And that was exactly what we did. So we got our assignment agreement in place with this investor, and we sent everything again over to title. They had helped set up closing with the seller and the end buyer, and just a couple weeks later, we closed. So on this deal, we made $28,000 from start to finish. It was just a few weeks, and it was honestly just a very straightforward, pretty textbook deal. The investor that we sold this property to, who renovated it and then sold it, actually made a lot of money as well. The property sold for roughly $255,000, which is exactly where we thought it was going to sell. We thought the ARV, or the after repair value, was roughly $250,000. So it sold for just a little bit more than that as well. So all in all, he netted roughly $40,000. All in all, he netted roughly $40,000 as well. So great deal. Homeowner made a lot of money, we made a lot of money, and the flipper made a lot of money. Now, not every deal is this straightforward. Not every deal is as textbook as this one was, but when they do come around, they are very nice. One thing we strongly believe in is the more effort you put into your business, the more situations like this happen. Now, there are really hard deals that you have to work really, really long for, and At the end of the day, you only make $5,000 and it might take 4 months, but then there's deals like this where over just a 2 or 3 week period, you make $28,000. There's a great balance of both, but these ones are of course especially nice. So guys, this is exactly why we do what we do. There is no other industry in the world that you can do this. There's no other industry where you can make $28,000 in just a couple weeks with truly very little effort because of the systems that we had in place, and also by not having to put in any of our own money. We never bought the property. The end buyer is the one who sends over all the money, and a portion of that goes to the homeowner, and a portion of that goes to you as the wholesaler. If you're wanting to get started in wholesaling or to learn how to get checks exactly like this one, we have linked our wholesaling mastery course in the description below. Be sure to check it out. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.